Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days in today's video. So this takes us off into the third week of August. So going into the second half of the month, I think going up to around the 22nd of August, something like that. So we're going to have a look at that. We're also going to have a look, of course, at the situation with the thunderstorms. Got a great deal going on away from the far south, and there's a lot of heavy rain along the channel. Having a job to get further north, they'll probably be on into this evening before we start to see those thunderstorms, or maybe thundery showers, really starting to push up from the south. But have a look at all the detail on it in a moment. Before I get on with that, just very quickly to say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages at gazos.com. You can have browse widgets. You'll be able to click through if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most pages. They open out within the content and then they'll close back up again when you've watched them. So thanks very much for getting involved. It's all help to pay for website. Thanks for doing that. Right, this is a radar picture from the Weather Outlook, and we can see that it's really in the south that we've got the thundery showers and thunderstorms along the south coast, not really getting much further north than the M4, particularly heavy down in the southeastern part of the English Channel just at the moment. But generally this rain stretches along the south coast. As I say, not very much going to the north of the M4, a few little echoes peering over the central part of the Midlands, a little bit over East Anglia, but really to the north of the M4 it's mostly dry at the moment. Let's see whether there's any lightning in with that rain down in the Channel. We have a look at the lightning detector, and there it is. You can see there's a huge cluster of thunderstorms there along the south coast towards the southeast of the Channel, and stretch down into northern parts of France. These storms will stick around here for much of the morning, trying to push north. As they come northwards, they'll be sort of decaying until later on this afternoon, and then I think they will start to push further north across the country. Here's the precipitation forecast from the GFS model. This is the very latest, just in the 6 o'clock run. It is just updating as I'm doing the update now. And we can see that by 6 o'clock in the evening, we've got these heavy thunderstorms still there towards the southeast, and generally through the Channel. Some pushing up in towards parts of the South Midlands and parts of East Anglia, also going to South Wales. But the heaviest stuff is still, by 6 o'clock, is still being suggested to be to the south of the M4 corridor. But things do get more widespread overnight, so this is up to midnight, and we see by then we've got showers developing across England and Wales. There could be lightning and thunder in with those showers, as well as they're starting to push up from the south. Notice this band of persistent rain getting going through the Irish Sea. That's the band I've been concerned about. It's still forecast being roughly the same position, but it was indicated being yesterday, which is really stretched down from central eastern Scotland through northern England down into Wales and southwestern England. In that swathe there, we could get anything up to 50, maybe 75 millimetres of rain, 2 or 3 inches of rain, but it is out in the far west. It's not centred over the top of the country, so much of this is falling into the Irish Sea. So won't necessarily be too impactful, although some of it will come down into the rivers through the Pennines and through the Welsh Mountains, perhaps into River Severn. So we have got to watch out for this still. Up 6 o'clock in the morning, most thunderstorms will carry on northwards through England and Wales. We'll probably lose the intensity of the rainfall and the lightning and thunder through the night. It'll become more sort of persistent, more sort of persistent rain type scenario, as opposed to thunderstorms, I would think. And then into tomorrow, the heavy rain is still there across eastern Scotland, down into northern England, through Wales, so very much in the north and west that we've got the greatest risk of some disruptive rainfall. Through the Midlands, south east England, a lot of dry weather once those thunderstorms clear in the early hours of this morning. Or thundering showers. I'm not sure how violent these showers are going to be in terms of lightning and thunder. So that's why I'm a little bit dubious about whether to call them thunderstorms or thundery showers. I think you're going to have to wait and see, really, whether you see any lightning tonight. By 6 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, that rain is clearing away from eastern Scotland, and we've still got some showers left across England and Wales as well. Probably have another look on Storm Watch this evening just to see what's happening. But this doesn't look as bad as it did a couple of days ago. You remember a couple of days ago the GFS and many other models were really going to town with the idea that there was going to be many inches of rain falling across the country. It hasn't turned out to be that bad so far, but there will be some heavy rain around over the next 24 to 36 hours. So probably have a look at it on Stormwatch to see and just see what's going on. Right, off into the weather for the next 8 to 10 days time, and here is the 500 millibar height anomaly charts. We've got the ECWF over on the left, the GFS is on the right, 500 millibars, 8,000 pieces, an area in absolute high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and orange extrapolates to high pressure. So what we find, and this is a bit of a change on what we've had previous summer, what we find through the course of next week is that we get this area of above average heights setting up over Scandinavia. We haven't had much high pressure over Scandinavia. This year, generally, we didn't have much in the winter. Very westerly winter, you remember, haven't had much through the summer. So this is quite a significant change on what we've had through 2015 so far, with quite a big blocking feature there getting in over Scandinavia. That could potentially settle things down and warm us up. It could bring a lot of dry weather and also warm, maybe even hot, easterly or southeasterly winds. But things just not lining up quite right for that to happen, because the jet stream is still relatively active and running in off the Atlantic underneath that area of high pressure, rather like that. So it does suggest that we still keep it a little bit on the unsettled side, particularly perhaps for the south. I think this probably does settle it down more for the north. You had a terrible summer across Scotland, but this could be good news for you, particularly in western Scotland and Northern Ireland, whereas further south we may still be at risk of running the jet stream and areas of low pressure underneath that ridge from the south and from the southwest from the Atlantic Ocean. A little bit of a complicated pattern though this, so let's wait and see how things develop through the course of next week. As I said, it's a significant change on what we've had through the year so far. The GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking like this. We're starting off well above average here in terms of the upper air temperature. It doesn't feel, I don't think, all that warm down on the surface, but up in the upper atmosphere we're well above average. We're going to go below average by weekend. It's going to be a couple of really cool nights coming up over the weekend, certainly cool for the time of the year. As we go beyond that though into next week, the temperatures do start to recover. It's a gradual process and a slow old process, but eventually through the course of next week we start to lift the temperatures back up towards the red line. Remember, the thick red line is the 30-year temperature average. So we go back up towards the temperature average next week, but it's a slow process. You're going to start off quite cool and very gradually we'll lift those temperatures up. In terms of the rainfall, now you remember a couple of days ago, these rainfall spikes just here, which are associated with today's rain, tomorrow's rain, you'll remember there are some very big spikes here going up to sort of that level in terms of those precipitation spikes. Well, they've been reduced quite a lot, you can see that, although they are still there, so we are still going to get some rain coming up from the south, but this is nothing like the sort of severe event that was being signalled a couple of days ago. Nevertheless, this actually looks quite an unsettled ensemble chart with quite a lot of precipitation, spikes coming through. There are a few drier days early next week, through the middle part of next week, just there, but then the rainfall spikes do come back later next week, through next weekend, and on into the following week, just probably suggesting that, again, low pressure is running in underneath that block of high pressure that's sitting over Scandinavia. So it's probably suggests that the south will be wetter than the north. That we have a quick look at the Aberdeen ensemble. Is that any drier? Because this one is London. We can have a look and see whether Aberdeen is any drier. We can see that not really, even in Aberdeen, there is the suggestion that we keep it fairly unsettled as we go through the course of next week, particularly the second half of next week. Incidentally, notice how much bigger this precipitation spike coming up tomorrow is for Aberdeen compared to London. So the potential for heavy rain has definitely been shifted northwards and westwards, as opposed to being in the south and southeast of the country as was being indicated a couple of days ago. The temperature anomaly through the course of the coming week, this going from the 13th of August through to the 21st, is around average, maybe a little bit above down in the south, a little bit below up in the north, but no great deviation there from average. Very similar really to what we've had all summer. We haven't had a huge deviation on these charts all summer, except for that one burst of very extreme heat that we had right at the start of July. We did get those couple of really hot days the end of June at the start of July. Other than that, though, generally temperatures have been running very, very close to average through the course of this summer, and that looks like continuing during the coming week. The precipitation anomaly from the 13th of August through the 21st, looking a little bit drier than average for England and Wales, a little bit wetter than average for Scotland. You'll remember a couple of days ago this was really very wet, though. So just going to show you how these anomaly charts can change around as the weather models sort of change around. They are based on the GFS model, so that's changing, so these anomaly charts are prone to change as well. So just have a look at the generic charts. Here's the GFS for Monday, and there's the high pressure getting in over Scandinavia. If nothing else, this is a change on the weather pattern that we've had through the summer and through most of 2015, with high pressure finally getting in over Scandinavia. And they've had a bad summer, so under an area of high pressure next week, I think they're going to do a lot better up over Scandinavia. For us, you see that pressure is relatively weak. The Scandinavian high isn't originally down to us settling things down at the start of next week, so we can probably still expect some showers through the early part of next week. Although there will be a lot of dry weather, I think, because we are at least blocking off the Atlantic to these big areas of low pressure. Through to middle of next week, really high pressure is in over Scandinavia and dominating. And then as we go through to the second half of next week, probably starting to run these areas of low pressure in from the west and from the southwest, maybe turning it more unsettled later next week to the south and the southwest of the country. This is how we look for day 10, Sunday the 23rd of June. Sorry, 23rd of August, I should say. And we've got the high pressure in there over Scandinavia. Low pressure is underneath it and running in rather like that. So, again, I think we probably turn it more unsettled as we get through to the latter stages of next week and into the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd of August. ECMWF looks very similar with the high pressure over Scandinavia to start next week. Pressure is weak for us as we run through the course of next week. We keep that high pressure in over Scandinavia, but we're keeping these areas of low pressure just moving in from west, so gently unsettled, nothing too dramatic, but I think there will be cloud and showery bursts coming through at times. As we run through the week, it probably turns more unsettled towards the end of next week. And by the time we get through to day 10, which is Sunday the 23rd of August, we start to see that high pressure receding away from Scandinavia. I wouldn't necessarily take that too seriously if these areas of low pressure begin to move in from the Atlantic. But I wouldn't necessarily take it too seriously, because when you get high pressure over Scandinavia, the models are always trying to break it down and revert back to the default setting. The default setting is westerly, southwesterlies, and low pressure running in off the Atlantic. So they will always try to kill off the Scandinavian high very quickly. Very often these areas of high pressure over Scandinavia prove more stubborn than the models think they will be, and it takes longer to break them down. So I wouldn't necessarily take that too seriously, but I do think we're probably likely to have little areas of low pressure running underneath this Scandinavian high next week. Having said that, I think the first and middle part of next week we'll probably have a lot of dry and warm weather. Then later on, we'll have a greater risk of bringing showers, maybe thundery showers, in from the southwest, particularly affecting England and Wales. But it's a big change on the pattern that we've had so far this summer. So it's good news, I think, for Scotland and Northern Ireland, where you've had a pretty dire summer. It will change the pattern, this area of high pressure over Scandinavia, compared to what we've had so far. So if nothing else, it gives us something new to talk about. It's J-May Friday tomorrow, so we'll have a look at the weather for the coming month. That takes us off into September, of course. And this evening, I think we'll have another look at Storm Watch, just to see how things have progressed through the day and what's likely to happen overnight. So come back for that later on this afternoon, around 6 o'clock this evening. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.